y'all niggas be like in these beefs and shit? What the fuck make y'all niggas get off on trying to like cyber bully? Like y'all just keep DMing niggas, like just miscellaneous shit, and then be telling niggas like we pressing.
This is what happened when a Detroit rapper shot 3 people at a Houston restaurant, then spent the next 2 weeks bragging about it on social media, releasing a music video about it, and launching a $20,000 cash prize challenge mocking his victims, only to get arrested by the FBI while on his way to do an interview. April 23, 2026 brought federal agents to Detroit, Michigan, where they arrested Jeremy Christopher Ford, a 36-year-old rapper known as AllStar JR, and charged him with 1 count of felon in possession of a firearm, a federal charge carrying up to 15 years in prison, and a possible $250,000 fine. Prosecutors built their case quickly because AllStar JR handed them nearly everything they needed by posting about the shooting repeatedly on Instagram, releasing a music video referencing the incident, and taunting his victims publicly for 2 straight weeks. To understand how we got here, everything starts on the night of April 8th, 2026, inside Confessions Restaurant and Lounge on Kirby Drive in Houston's Upper Kirby area. Around 11:23 p.m., Ford was inside Confessions when a confrontation broke out with several individuals who, according to the criminal complaint, appeared to grab his necklace and watch. During that struggle, a handgun fell to the floor. Ford picked it up and started firing as people scattered in different directions. Multiple surveillance cameras captured what followed, and court documents describe the footage in specific detail. Ford allegedly pursued the group and kept firing, then returned to where one victim, identified in court records as John Doe No. 1, lay on the ground and fired 2 more rounds into him. 8 seconds passed, and he fired at the same person again, and 20 seconds after that, he attempted 1 more shot, but the gun appeared to be out of ammunition. Ford then allegedly struck the victim in the face with the weapon and spat on him.
I wake up, all you hoe ass niggas tagging me, talking about, nigga, you see Ben back? You see Ben back? Well, if the bitch so back, tell him to do the Ben 10. I'll double it for him. Fuck he talking about. Do that bitch, Ben. Nigga, this your dance. Get in your groove, nigga, if you back.
A second camera captured the rest of the group, running into an elevator as shots rang out, with Ford walking into frame armed as the elevator doors closed. A third camera allegedly showed Ford wiping down the gun before setting it on a counter near what appeared to be a hostess stand. When Houston police arrived, they found one person inside the restaurant with a gunshot wound to the neck, a second person in the parking garage with multiple gunshot wounds to the hand and leg, and a blood trail running from the dining area through the elevator and into the garage. Officers recovered a Glock 43X handgun, a magazine, a holster, and multiple spent shell casings and bullet fragments at the scene. 3 people were shot that night. John Doe No. 1, who turned out to be 26-year-old Ben Anthony Fields, known as rapper NBA, Ben 10, and an affiliate of NBA Youngboy in the Never Broke Again collective, was shot multiple times, and as of April 15th, still lacked sensation in his legs. John Doe No. 2 had arteries destroyed in both legs and lost 1 finger to amputation. A third person, believed to be a bystander, took a non-life-threatening gunshot wound to the buttocks. The second victim has been identified in other reports as Dead End Ron, though court documents don't confirm his name, and both men were hospitalized in critical condition. And that's when this story took a turn that prosecutors couldn't have scripted better themselves, because instead of going quiet and letting a lawyer handle it, AllStar JR launched a full social media campaign about what happened. 4 days after the shooting, on April 12, 2026, Ford posted an Instagram carousel showing himself at a jewelry store with a caption reading, "Had to shoot to the D and get new ice, 'cause my man's Ben 10 took some of my stuff to the hospital with him. He added hashtags including JR closed the elevator on Ron OG3, left them in words, and all that playing. A separate post read, "Thought he was mob ties till I shot his ass a few times." Ford also called out J. Prince Jr., the CEO of streetwear brand Mob Ties and son of Houston hip-hop figure J. Prince, claiming Prince was at the restaurant that night and involved in the robbery attempt. He wrote on Instagram, "Damn N-word, you still running up Kirby? You left the Cullinan and all say you ain't know what to do when that pressure on? Now I'm literally finna show the whole world how soft you is." J. Prince Jr. responded through his Instagram story, flatly denying any involvement, stating he was only there for a birthday dinner, attended alone, noted he had just undergone ACL surgery and could barely walk, and closed by wishing both victims a speedy recovery. None of that slowed Ford down because he also sent direct messages to NBA Ben 10 from his hospital bed, writing things like, "How it feel that everybody left your bum B Tech AS to die," and mocking him for being full of bullets. When one user commented "Walking Dead" on one of his posts, Ford replied, "Well, guess who ain't walking? Welcome to the real world."
Bro, if you don't get your wild, loose, crazy ass on, bro, you was incriminating and causing trouble and irritation. Like, bro, don't nobody want to go back and forth in the DM with you niggas all day. A nigga will literally DM you like, "You know we killing you when we see you, right?" Like, man, going on with your game, man. Get the fuck on, bro. Like, get the fuck on. Ain't nobody trying to cyber beef with y'all niggas. Then when everybody get locked up, these niggas be talking about niggas telling. No, bro, you fried us, kept cyber.
5 days after the shooting, on April 13th, 2026, AllStar JR released a brand new single and music video titled "Expensive Wristwatch," and both the song and the visual directly referenced the incident. Court documents noted one lyric from the track stating, "Shootout right there in the restaurant, now I'm 2 and 0. He was literally turning a shooting where 3 people were hospitalized into promotional content while those victims were still recovering. The Ben 10 challenge followed, a viral campaign Ford launched, mocking NBA Ben 10 with staged scenarios and offering $20,000 in cash prizes for participation, which drew backlash across platforms but kept attention locked on him, which appeared to be precisely the point. NBA Ben 10, posting from his hospital bed, eventually addressed it directly. He wrote, "Getting shot? Okay, Ian trippin'. We serve 2 different gods must be. My father told me my testimony already." And then he identified what was actually happening. "You telling the story for the police? Y'all literally getting all information from him. It's so much I want to say, but I'm real and they got real street watching me. I refuse to let us down." That assessment turned out to be exactly right. Because here's the legal problem AllStar JR either failed to understand or simply didn't care about. Back in 2014, when Ford was 19 years old, a felony home invasion conviction in Michigan sent him to prison for a year and a half, interrupted his second semester at Michigan State University, and derailed his early attempts at rapping. That 2014 conviction means that under federal law, Jeremy Ford cannot legally possess a firearm or ammunition under any circumstances. Self-defense claims don't change that. Being robbed doesn't change that. The moment Ford picked up that Glock 43X from the floor, he was committing a federal crime. Because the firearm traveled in interstate or foreign commerce, which covers any gun manufactured and sold across state lines, the FBI held jurisdiction over federal charges, which meant this investigation never belonged to Houston PD alone, but to the FBI with Houston PD's assistance. While Ford posted jewelry store carousels and launched $20,000 social media challenges, federal prosecutors were assembling a case built from surveillance footage across multiple cameras, the recovered Glock 43X, shell casings, bullet fragments, a blood trail, witness statements, and AllStar Jr.'s own Instagram posts admitting to the shooting, describing his motive, celebrating the outcome, and releasing a song with lyrics confirming the location. April 23, 2026 brought a scheduled remote interview between AllStar JR and DJ Vlad of Vlad TV, set for 7 p.m. from Detroit. The studio was ready. Ford never arrived because federal agents detained him before he could make it to the interview. The internet immediately pushed the recurring narrative that Vlad TV somehow facilitates arrests, which DJ Vlad addressed directly, emphasizing he had no involvement whatsoever and reaffirming his commitment to protecting guests and refusing cooperation with law enforcement. The timing was striking regardless. Ford was about to sit down for what would almost certainly have included extensive questions about the shooting, the posts, and the music video, and federal agents picked him up before any of that could happen. AllStar JR made his initial court appearance in Detroit on April 23, 2026, facing 1 count of felon in possession of a firearm, with a detention hearing set for April 27th and the case being prosecuted by Assistant U.S. Attorney Carrie L. Fuller in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Texas. Up to 15 years in federal prison and a possible $250,000 fine represent the exposure on this charge alone, and that charge doesn't even cover the shooting itself. Houston authorities retain the option to pursue separate state charges for the assault, the injuries, and the conduct toward 3 people that night. NBA Ben 10 remains alive and posting updates from his hospital bed, though as of April 15th, he still lacked sensation in his legs. Dead End Ron continues recovering after losing a finger and suffering destroyed arteries in both legs. Here is what actually happened. Ford claims he was being robbed, that Ben 10 and others attempted to take his chains and watch, and that everything he did represented self-defense. Surveillance footage will ultimately settle what occurred during that confrontation. None of that changes the federal charge, though, because a convicted felon cannot possess a firearm, regardless of the circumstances surrounding why he picked it up. What this is also is a complete masterclass in how not to handle the aftermath of a shooting. Rather than going silent and deferring to counsel, Ford spent 2 weeks producing a detailed public record of motive, admission, intent, and timeline. A music video with lyrics referencing the location by name. A challenge offering cash prizes for mocking his victims. Direct messages to a hospitalized man he'd shot. Social media posts identifying everyone involved and describing what happened in his own words. Federal prosecutors didn't have to construct a narrative because AllStar Jr. constructed it for them and posted it publicly. NBA, Ben 10 called it correctly from his hospital bed. You telling the story, Faye the police. AllStar Jr. came up in Detroit alongside T Grizzly as part of the All-Stars Ball Hard Collective, released mixtapes across more than a decade, and by all accounts understood the streets and understood the game. None of that knowledge translated into the most basic possible response after a shooting, which is staying quiet. Instead, he admitted to it, celebrated it, monetized it, taunted the victims, identified other people he claimed were involved, and packaged all of it into promotional content, every bit of it publicly visible to federal investigators with screenshot capability. There's a saying that real people move in silence. AllStar JR moved with an Instagram account, a music video budget, and a $20,000 promotional campaign. 3 people were shot, one of whom may never walk again, another who lost a finger. The person who allegedly pulled the trigger went out of his way to make certain that everyone, including federal prosecutors, knew exactly what he did and exactly how he felt about it. AllStar JR trolled and self-snitched his way into a federal indictment, and now he's sitting in federal custody, facing up to 15 years because he couldn't stop telling the world his side of the story.